From many, one, Conversations Across Difference invites all of us to engage in one-to-one listening and sharing across the many differences that separate us. We trust the spiritual practice of conversation across difference can knit us all into a diverse, more perfect union. It all starts with 4 simple questions. What do you love? What have you lost? Where does it hurt? And what do you dream? This evening, we invite you on this journey with us, listening, considering, joining in a deeper conversation, and learning, and in taking action as each of us here and each of you watching from wherever you are help to form a truly beloved community.
Hey, Word.
How you doing, brother?
How's it going?
Glad to be here with you today. And I'm going to
well.
kick this thing off is I want to talk about what we both love.
What do you love? So much of human action and thinking is driven, not by hate or anger, but by the urge to protect what we love. By asking and sharing our answers to what do you love, each of us has a chance to name and to hear what matters most to us and why. It's harder to argue when we start from what we love.
I would say the thing I love the most is seeing others successful. And this is why is you can put all this power and energy into making yourself successful. But what about those who maybe don't have the resources, not the right situation, maybe their home life isn't that good, and they need an outside source to come in, help them get on that way towards a successful life. But the fulfillment's even bigger when you see someone else have, a success or accomplishment, or maybe even get to a dream they didn't think maybe they could achieve, and you was able to give them some assistance to get there. I have my own accomplishments now, and kind of build that family tree of, all right, this guy's successful, he taught me to be successful, now I gotta teach the next person to be successful. So I love that push to see others successful. Now, what about you, James? What do you love?
It seems like what drives me is like having the heart of a teacher, wanting to give knowledge that I acquired to somebody else. I'm particularly passionate about finance because that was my background. And it's almost like a secret. Like I see people, I want to teach them, I want to show them a way to look at it where they can control it and do better in life as a result of it. A lot of times we keep those secrets strategically. It's like, I don't want to tell people what I know because I want to have the advantage over other people. I want to tell people those things.
What have you lost? People across the spectrum understand the experience of loss. The loss of money, jobs, status, national identity, cultural identity, a sense of security, a sense that they matter. You get the picture. By asking and sharing our answers to the question, what have you lost? We become curious about what each of us has lost, what we're grieving, how we're grieving, and perhaps what we're working to get back.
I lost my father in September to COVID, and that gave me a lot of perspective about, what's important spiritually. I've got 2 daughters, 25 and 19, and seeing how they are and the way they see the world and the way I judge people and the way they don't. I was talking to my youngest daughter about gay and lesbian people, transgender people. She's helped me to understand some things I didn't understand. I lost a lot of time, but I can make that up because I want my daughters to look at me as not only a father that teaches them and coaches them, but a good person. This is deep between us. I mean, we're musicians, we have things we've experienced, but then we have things that are so far apart. I'm a conservative, Republican type dude. How does that affect somebody in your environment? How am I perceived? And what can I do to recognize that in my daily life?
I'll start off with where my loss is because it actually builds into the question you asked me. So when I look at loss, for me, it's somewhat of a loss of innocence. And I use that word innocence because I walked around like everybody else, not worried that I was a black man in America and heard stories of, man, this happened when I was just minding my business. But it hadn't happened to me. So when it did happen to me, and I spent 3 days in jail, and I wasn't able to make a phone call, and I went from being on vacation with my kids and my family to them not even knowing where I was at for 3 days. And this all because I questioned a cop on information that I knew was fact. And so I spent 3 days in jail wondering, why am I here? All this time to think, and the only reason it could come to my mind was I'm here because of my skin color. Because I was chosen out of a situation of people where, yeah, maybe it was predominantly more white people around in this area I was at, so it was easy to see these were the black people here. That innocence, that veil had came down because I said, man, you know, I, for the first time, dealt with being racially profiled, police brutality, to where those stories felt even more real. That I know I'm a part of America, but in a sense I'm not, because the treatment is different. What we want from other communities, other races, especially in this heightened time right now, racial injustice, is we want people to learn and understand what we go through every day.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I was driving and got pulled over just because my small light on my license plate was out. That little light. And I was scared. My heart was pumping because of prior experiences with cops. And I'm saying to myself in the car, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I shouldn't feel like that.
Right, yeah.
So when that happened with me being racially profiled, I had a true loss of how I viewed the world, and I was angry for a while.
Yeah.
And of course I came out of that. You know, I feel like I'm full circle now, and I've always loved all people, but I think I had to make peace with the police and understand that, yes, they do things that are wrong sometimes, but there are just as good police officers out there, and we do need the police. How are other people that went through my situation ever gonna survive these situations if we don't have a relationship with the police force and say, hey, this is what you guys are doing, and not only you're affecting someone like me that night, you affected me for years after that incident.
As a white guy that lived most of my adult life in a pretty much white area, there was no pressure on me because I was white. And honestly, I don't understand all of that. How do I go about connecting with you without feeling I need to pretend a little bit? Or how do you connect with me without feeling like you have to pretend?
Yeah,
How does
I
that
think
happen?
honesty, man.
Do we have to be vulnerable to a
Yes,
point where we
yes.
have to trust and respect
Yes.
each other?
The hard conversations, what we're doing right now, you gotta be willing to have them. You can't run from them. And I feel that that's what we do in America a lot. Oh, I don't wanna talk about that, that's too shocking. No, you gotta, when are you gonna have the hard conversation then? You know what I mean? You don't wanna leave this earth and then you have regrets. I never had that conversation. I never gave this other person who was Indian or Arabic or Asian a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. That could be your next best friend, next person that gives you a job, next person that saves your life one day. And you didn't give it a chance just because you looked at their skin color or their background and said, he's not someone I normally talk to, you know?
Yeah.
Where does it hurt? Regardless of our race, gender, age, ballot choice, earnings, or location, we have all experienced hurt. And by asking and sharing our answers to questions like where does it hurt, we can develop a curiosity and find a commonality in how each of us has been wounded by life, by others, or by social forces. So then instead of assuming others are fine and only I or my group is hurting, we learn to offer our experience as more of a common thread so we can create a deeper sense of compassion for one another.
I get hurt when human beings suffer. I do. Jesus Christ talked about it's easy to love people that love you back, and it's harder to love people, be hurt by other people's suffering if you don't know them or if you don't like them. But when I see like an old movie about slavery, for instance, it hurts me for days after I've watched it. The conservative side of me feels like, you know, that was a long time ago. Let's move on. And then at the same time, man, how do you move on? How in the world do you get past something like that? When I really think about it, it's pretty deep. You know, it's a pretty deep hurt.
That was so honest.
But I never admit it.
You just did now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's big. That's part of you progressing as a man, as a person, is admitting that it's somewhat of a shortfall for you. You know what I mean? That you have this side of you that you just want to be conservative and be like, hey, I wasn't a part of that era in time. But that's just a way to oppress our history. You know, you
Yeah.
have to face these things, and it's tough as you saying it is for you to do it. You're doing it right now. You know, with me, I think what hurts for me is the divide that we have in America right now. A lot of it, unfortunately, has to do with politics. You should never go into anything judging anybody. It should be a clean slate, and people should show you their character, and then you decide after that, this is someone I can be friends with, someone I can hang out with, or, you know, this will be our last conversation. But it's almost now you go to someone and go, let me check them out. Well, I can get an idea what side politically you might lean to. I don't want politics to define us. We have this true divide in America.
Yeah.
And we really don't have an answer how we're gonna come back together. I haven't heard the answer or seen the answer to date. Not that we're not gonna get there, but it hurts for me to see this because I love all people. We should just be working on being better versions of ourselves, being open with one another, honest, being transparent, so we can move relationships forward in life.
Right.
You know, and so that's my biggest
We
hurdle.
should drive that.
We should drive it, not
not-
politicians. I'm not a Republican. I'm not conservative. I'm an independent, and I'm very liberal, very free-spirited person.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I can't have a conversation with you.
Right.
That doesn't mean we can't sit down and disagree and agree on certain things.
Right.
The whole point of it is having this understanding where I can say, you know what? I don't see eye to eye with James, but I could chill with James any day because he has an open mind. He hears my side, I hear his side. We're still moving life forward because our minds are open to do that. So
I played in a band out of St. Pete and Tampa that they were black. They were a black group, very deep-rooted culturally, what they did and the people they hung out with and the music that they played. The bass player, his name was Coach Cheese, and I invited them to my house and down in my neck of the woods, so to speak, more rural fishing town. Not very many black people in this town. I took him to Wendy's, and now that I look back, he felt a little nervous. And we're buddies, man. We played together, we hung out a lot, but he felt a little bit uncomfortable. I didn't think anything about it. I'm like, you know, we're at Wendy's having a Frosty, but he was out of his environment. I didn't even think about why. And to tell you the truth, I'm just realizing it now. Was it something he didn't trust? You're talking about the divide. It's even more than just the surface politics. It's got to be deeper. There has to be more acceptance. Some kid goes to a new high school. It's not until someone brings him in and says, hey, this is a good guy. He's part of our, let's accept him. It could be that simple. Yeah. Why did I feel so comfortable in his world and he felt so uncomfortable in mine?
It's a heavy, heavy question there. I think you're learning, though. Don't you agree more and more why your friend felt that? It definitely wasn't you. He was comfortable with you, but there's always a history attached to us as African Americans. The same way I feel I should be able to walk down the street and mind my business, and the reality is I can't because of my skin color. And that's the reality. I had to come to grips with it. This is real.
Yeah.
What do you dream? We all dream of a better world as we imagine it from our own personal perspective, but we don't get to hear or share that vision very often. Instead, we often assume that our own ideal picture of life, community, and society is shared by everyone, or that certain others can't possibly want the same kind of future we do. By asking, what do you dream, we become open to hear and share each other's dreams for our families, communities, society, and ourselves.
As a Christian, my goal and my dream is to have the love that Christ wants us to have and manifest it. Paul talks about edifying one another, edifying the church, and that word comes from building up, like buildings, edification. So I guess my dream would be that we build up as opposed to tearing down. And it all starts with people like me who have the ability to build other people up. We're on that hierarchy of needs that's so high when other people are just trying to figure out how to eat. I have the ability to build people up. I have the resources, I have the knowledge, I have the heart of a teacher. But do I have the ability to love other people like that, to be able to build them up? And that's only a question that I can answer.
Great answer. My dream is to provide music education for the many, many, many underserved kids in Baltimore City. A lot of struggle, a lot of poverty, like I said, a lot of opioid abuse in our city, out of police corruption. And one thing we're really missing is there's no music education in our public school system, which blows my mind. And of course, we're musicians here. We know what music has done for us intellectually, opening us up to other people,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And just having the ability
yes.
to express yourself
Right.
without any judgment, you know? And to have such a big void in a city where the kids don't really have anywhere to go, no Boys and Girls Club, no real after-school programs that'll come scoop your kids up. You know, depending on where you're from and what your makeup is, your background, your family life, that may be your only option, is to go
Yes.
out there and sell drugs. And yeah, we can quickly judge and say, that's not the right thing to do, but you don't know his situation. And that's where the empathy comes in and go, let me have some understanding of why he's out here before I just go, this is wrong what you're doing. This kid out here may not eaten in 3 days. This is his way to get money to eat, not just for himself, but his mother or his
talked about
father.
that.
Yes.
Economic choices.
Economic choices here.
Yes.
And so I want to be able to provide this music school for these kids so
Yeah.
I can take their minds, readjust it as early as possible and say, hey, here are some goals to start applying to your life. Even if you never become a musician,
Right.
when you sell drugs, you're not setting a goal at all. You're just fulfilling a void and a need to survive.
Right.
But when you learn an instrument or you learn how to write or you learn how to even be a recording engineer, you're setting yourself up for a future profession.
Opening up opportunities.
You open up opportunities for yourself.
Yeah.
I think more than anything, music stimulates your mind the most and can help you in other facets of your life.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
this is something that's critical in my community, almost like getting a vaccine
Yeah.
or getting a COVID test. We got to get music education in here. And I think you'll see a big difference with the kids in Baltimore, but it also will help the police force because you're taking some of these kids that would normally be out here every day. I don't want to go stand out here tomorrow. I can't wait to get back to class.
Oh, man.
I can't wait to get back and learn guitar with Mr. James because I had such a good class with him yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that. You know, I
Yeah.
smile when I talk about it because I visualize it in my
It's a
mind so
great
much.
goal, and it's specific. We had that in Eastern Kentucky. When we picked up an instrument and we showed them how to perform, they started getting more confident, and then they started doing better in class in school. They found more purpose in their life. So you're right. It can happen in any neighborhood, in any situation, or with any color of the person.
Well, man, it's been great talking to you today. Thank
You
you,
too.
man, for your honesty and transparency. This is what it's all about, man.
You know what, man? I love you.
I love you too, brother. All right, my man.